Alrighty, it's that time again. So here's what we're gonna end up doing. Boom! Hey everybody, Steve here, the retired hobby tech guy. That is breakfast, the breakfast of champions. So yeah, we're gonna check some stuff out here, and we're gonna make sure that we got my little thing going here, so that way if I can see any comments, I've got everybody. As you can probably tell, what we're going to end up doing is painting this right here, which is the Doomslayer helmet. And we have the said helmet right here. We made a miniature one. So yeah, we're going to try to reproduce this color scheme, and that's probably one of the things that you need to do, is to have a copy or picture or goal in mind in regards to colors and what you want to end up painting. So we're going to kind of use this to kind of look at this and see if we can kind of make them look similar-ish. For those of you who have been watching in the past, what we ended up doing is a chaplain helmet, and we finished the chaplain helmet up. This turned out really good, and yeah, we did a combination of airbrushing. We used Army Painter airbrush for the skull. We had 3 different colors for that. We did some washes. We did some Citadel, lead belcher. We did some gold. Did some teeth on here. We went with the black type of theme, and we kind of darkened in the eyes and all that stuff to try to create a depth on this. And then the other thing we ended up doing is I ended up with an LED light on here, but then I was here in Korea. I'm retired in Korea, and I found that they had this little light here, and what I can end up doing is I can just turn that on like so, and boom, there we have it. So this can be a really cool little helmet. And if we take a look at this, it also comes with a remote, and there was 4 of these light pucks, LED light pucks, and so we can change the colors to green that we see there. We get some blue, get orange, a little bit of green, kind of like a pastel purple. You have like a yellow, another light blue, kind of a purple, kind of an off, and then a pastel green, and then kind of a purple. So yeah, turns out pretty good. So my question is, do you like, I've kind of narrowed it down to 2 colors. We've got the red, and then we have the green. So put in the comments section down below what color you like for this, whether it's the red or the green. And yeah, I don't know, it kind of depends. I'm going to be I don't know, I'm a little partial. It's kind of cool because we can get the green colors up in here on the top, and I need to like make a base for this so I can set this thing in here because it's just kind of open. But this would be kind of cool if we end up having just kind of a different little thing. So yeah, put it in there and let me know what you think. Red, green. Christmas is coming up. So yeah, that's what we got going on. So that turned out to be pretty cool. And maybe we'll do something like that for this guy here. But this puck is a little bit, I don't know. That puck could work in there. And we could do something like that. And again, we could kind of go through, and we've got green, again the blue. We could do all the different colors that they have here, but yeah, or maybe even the yellowish type of color. We'd have to get some type of screen on here, but I mean, that could turn out pretty well. But that's a little bit later on down the road. So with that, let's just go ahead and jump into this. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to have a reference picture, and we're going to get situated here. If I can, we don't need that one. see what stuff I got on the table. So, yeah, we're going to start off with this. And this is printed on my K2 Plus. Again, just kind of, this is a smaller version of the large helmet that I end up having. So we're going to run with this. The biggest color that we end up seeing is the green, and then of course the silver color, which is the lead belcher color that I think we're going to end up doing there. So courtesy of Citadel, get a little bit of breakfast here. So this should work out. And since we got a large area to paint, we need to look at some colors that we have. So we got some Forest Sprite. These are the speed paints. Maybe I need to go for regular Army painter paints. And we have Army green. The other green that we end up having is kind of this goblin green, which is, I don't know, maybe a cross between those two. We could see what happens with that. The other stuff that we end up having is we have the airbrush greens. So we could do something like the green skin. Another green that we end up having is a little bit darker, savage green. And then we also have a lighter green, a feral green. So I don't know, I'm thinking maybe the green skin could work on this. Even though these are airbrush paints, I'm just going to go ahead and use them with a brush. And the cool thing about that is these are already diluted. So that makes life a hell of a lot easier. But yeah, the biggest thing I'd say is you have to have a plan on what you're painting and what it's going to look like. So we got this reference picture here. We're just going to mix up our paints real good. And we're going to see the areas. Even though this has got some filler and we lost a little bit of the detail with the filler and everything, we kind of got like a slight line here of where the silver is going to go. And then we'll keep some of the silver down on the bottom, I think. But the rest of this, that'll be silver. We'll have some green up top, and then we'll have some silver accents, I guess. And then that'll be all silver. So this is going to be an interesting little print here. So with that, let's take a look and see how this is going to look. Ahead and load up our brush, and we're gonna have to just kind of try to print or paint a line of where that lead belcher is gonna go. But that is, wow. That's going to be, that's really see-through-ish. Maybe this is going to be too see-through. We might have, go ahead and put that back. As best we can, and I think that's about all we can do. Alrighty, so much for the airbrush paints. I guess we're gonna have to go with Army Green. That's kind of a green we want. That is also kind of a green skin that we want. I guess we could do like a drop of this and a drop of this, and we could mix it together. So let's run with that. We'll see how that goes. This is not going as planned. This guy came out really nice. So I'm really looking forward to doing a big chaplain's helmet. And this chaplain's helmet was from Galactic Armory before they got that cease and desist letter. So yeah, Games Workshop, you're being stupid. Mix that one up. Yeah, a little rant as we're mixing up the paint. Games Workshop is suing a lot of people over intellectual property like fan art and helmets and stuff like this. You know, making models, and of course it takes time and money to make the model, and people sell them and they're making money. Games Workshop is not making the money, but your fan base is getting smaller and smaller, and you're alienating your fan base. Imagine if Star Wars, George Lucas sued all of the fans who did the fan art, the fan fiction, the fan models, the fan stories, novels, scripts, you know, all of that stuff. Star Wars would not be as big as it is today if he went that route. So that's all I'm saying. Okay, we'll do 2, 3. We'll do like 4 drops of that. Not that there's any rhyme or reason to this, but just try to get about the same. And we'll see what happens. We'll just run with this. Alrighty. Man, I am dropping stuff all over the place. Of course, if I cleaned up, it might help as well. Okay, so let's just mix this stuff up. We did 50-50 basically, and we will see what type of color we get. It's going to be a muted type of green, but I think it'll work out. So let's go back and let's see what we get. Oh yeah, it's definitely a nicer green. And we're going to come back with that metal color with that, like that lead belcher, and that will do a lot. So we just got the very faint lines on there, so we're just going to try to follow that. And see how that goes. We might end up having to do another coat on this, so we'll see how that works. I think that'll be a good color. It won't be bad. But we need to definitely need a couple coats. But we'll just kind of get the try to get this going. So much for the airbrush paints on this, with the brush anyway. this will do good, and we can come back and we just kind of slap this paint on. And here the question is, how are we going to I guess we'll just kind of do a base color on this and we'll see what happens. Use this as a base, and then we can get into the details a little bit later. Process this a little bit. I didn't do like a ton of sanding. You know, we can see we even got a string on there that we could have knocked off. Where's my razor blade? And clean that up, but you know, it's small. Who cares? We're not going to go crazy on it. We're just going to add this to the mini helmet collection that we got going on. We've got a servo helmet. We've got, of course, we'll have this guy. We've got the chaplain's helmet. So we will just kind of continue on and doing some small helmets. We'll see how that goes. I'll just kind of save this bottom ring for that lead belcher, the silver color that we are going to have on here. Bit of water, we can try to reconstitute this a little bit. Now the interesting thing is that I've printed out this helmet life-size, 1-to-1 scale, and that is going to be an interesting project because processing that, you know, sanding, using wood filler and trying to find some Bondo here in Korea, that's going to be an interesting little thing that we got going on. But when it comes to painting something like that, that is going to be interesting. So it's not that the painting is hard, it's just a lot more painting. So hopefully we can keep the same color, maybe. Is that, yeah, close enough. Be a little bit different than the picture, but that's just kind of the color scheme we wanted to, the colors we wanted. distress this out a little bit, so that won't be too bad. Don't have to be too careful because we're going to end up doing that silver, which will be a darker color, so that'll work out. And we're not going to finish this today, so we will do another video and continue on with this. So we'll probably just end up doing this right here. And we'll do that. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that. Being retired here in Korea, this is kind of like some of the hobby stuff that I end up doing to keep me busy. And I actually got monetized, so I got a few nickels out of this, which will keep me in, be able to resupply the paint, and then we'll be able to, you know, maybe buy some rolls of filament, stuff like that. And yeah, it'll be interesting. This is going to be different in how we're going to do this, because that's going to be silver. The top is going to be green-ish. But we kind of got, it's a little bit different. Again, we're just kind of slapping paint on here, running with it. Nothing terribly crazy. And that is going to be, I'm going to do some silver there. I think we'll do silver there. Just go ahead and fill that in. I just wish the lines were a little bit more distinct, or more visible, because that would be a good thing. Let's see. Because it's just kind of an odd looking helmet, and how there's a lack of what this is going to look like, kind of like for the details. But you know, it is what it is. And the front is going to be silver. We're still going to have maybe some green in there. I don't know, we'll see. I'll just go ahead and throw some on there. And if we come back and go over it with the metal. I'm not too worried about it. So yeah, we'll probably need another coat on this, but it's a decent start for what we have. The color's pretty decent. I think that mixing of those two colors worked out well. So I'll end up doing, if I get my fingers out of there, we'll mix up a little bit more. But yeah, I want to do the Doomslayer and do a cosplay armor. That's kind of one of my bucket list things. You get old, you start having bucket lists. So you know what? Let's just put a 'Bit of water in there too. Three drops of that. Ooh. 3 drops of that. And we will mix this up. And where we're really going to make our money on this helmet or any other painting is going to be the details of creating depth, edge highlighting, you know, a little bit of shadowing work going on. Try to get that paint off of that so it doesn't creep into that ferrule. So, but that's where you're going to make a lot of the attention is going to be in those details, because like, so we've got all of this green on here. It's just a massive green, and so by filling in some of the details with colors and highlights, shadows, then what that will allow us to do is to create depth. And it won't be just like a big green blob. So, because, yeah, it'll be just a big green blob, and that's not really interesting to look at. So, and this is just going to be an interesting how we're going to end up doing this, because there's not like set lines or anything on here, so just kind of slap this on here, and then when we come back we'll kind of draw some type of line on there. We just want to get a good coat on here, this stuff, and then we can come back and we get those details. I was going to do this with airbrush, and then I was like, just didn't feel like airbrushing today. I was like, because then you got the compressor going, you don't get to talk, or at least I don't get to talk. Well, I could talk, but you just wouldn't be able to hear with the airbrush compressor popping on and off. So, and again, we're not doing any huge technique here. We're just slapping on paint. just to make sure we got good coverage. And with this, we might even, we might airbrush this a little bit to try to give some highlights on here. So, because we got the green, and this kind of reminds me of the Hulk. And with the Hulk, he's green, but what you want to do with that is to get some highlights. And you do that by using a darker green, and then you come back with a lighter green, and then you come back with a lighter green, maybe even a yellowish, real yellowish green, to get those highlighted areas where the sun hits, or the light hits the model. And that, like I said, that's where you're going to make your money. So there's a huge difference between painting a Hulk just one color green and then using it to highlight with lighter shades of green to get those highlights in there. So, yeah. We're going to try to get as much paint as we can out of this guy. It might have been a little bit too much. No, that'll work. Just got some bubbles in there. So yeah, we might come back and do some airbrushing. And the airbrushing, I would probably like hit areas that where the light would come down and hit it, which is like be right around here, maybe a little bit on the top, kind of on these places here, where it was kind of be like the cheekbone areas where the light would hit. And yeah, I think that could bring in some depth as well, so it's just not one color green. So, yeah. We might end up doing that. So. And you could even do that with brushing as well. You could come through here with a brush and then mix up a little green, and then maybe just put like a tiny bit of yellow in there, mix that up, and then just kind of blend that into the areas on the model. And you could do that. I'm not a real big, that's something I need to practice. I'm not a professional painter. I just started about 2 years ago. Hadn't painted anything. Said, yeah, I'm going to start painting at 58. 58 years old. So, yeah, that is going to be our first little foray into this. And, I don't know, maybe I need to get some type of stick in here, because this is going to be awkward when I paint this other stuff. So, and what we did was a combination of army green and greenskin with army painter paints. And if we wanted to, we could go in with a lighter, with the goblin green, and we could kind of do kind of a highlighting there. Lighter green after that is jungle green, but I think that would be just way too much. So if we did some highlights painting, I would probably take like the goblin green and this jungle green and kind of mix that together and try to blend that in. But since I'm not too good at that, I think what we'll end up doing is we can airbrush some of that. So we can get a little finer spray on there. It's a little easier to blend. And so when we're talking about, you can see where the light hits these edges here. And so it's kind of like it's yellow, and especially on the top where you get some, it's just not all green, some of the chin down there and on the side. We can see that it's green, but where the light hits it, that ends up being like a yellow. So in this picture here, what we end up seeing is basically using that highlight of that yellowish green or yellow sprayed onto the helmet to kind of highlight those areas, kind of like you'd highlight the areas of the face, like the forehead, you know, the cheekbones, things like that, the chin, of where you're going to see that light. And we can also see it on the silver as well. So we have lighter colors on where the light hits it, which really separates it out, like on the nose here, the mouth covering. We see these top two things here where that's pretty much white. But it's really just kind of a really bright silver compared to the rest of this. So I think when we do our paint on here, we're going to use Lead Belcher from Citadel. We could do something like gunmetal. Gunmetal would work really well on this. But then the Citadel paint with the Lead Belcher, I really like the Lead Belcher color. But the gunmetal, I haven't used much of this, so maybe we'll use this. We'll give the Lead Belcher a break, and we'll try this gunmetal, and we'll see how that works out. Got to do some new stuff every once in a while. Other stuff that I ended up painting was, I'm still going through these guys. These guys are taking forever and a day to paint. They're just taking such a long time because they're so small. And I get squirrel moments where I'll do something, I'll work on this for a little bit, and I'll paint all three of these, you know, whatever color. And there's the other giant. As you can see there, he turns out pretty good. But I'll go through and I'll paint these a little bit, and then I get sidetracked into doing, 3D printing stuff, FDM printing stuff. And then I'll come back, and then I'll hit these guys up. So, yeah, every once in a while. Alrighty, gunmetal. So now, because I think we're good to go. Well, talking and yapping, and we can start off. And again, there's not real clear lines on where this goes, so we're gonna have to use a smaller brush to try to get that. Is that what we want? Yeah, let's get maybe this. That could work. Let's just dip into the, wait a second. Need to find some way to hold this without, that's not gonna work. Like that. Nope, it's not gonna work. What could we use? Maybe. No, that's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Yep, too small. Seriously. Well, I guess I'll just have to stumble through it. So with that, let's start at the top. We'll work our way down. Boy, that's pretty thick. That is thick. Don't want to get that in the ferrule. I also want to keep this clean. So the first time using gunmetal. Well, maybe not the first time. I'll just add 1 drop of water. We'll mix this stuff up. The talc colors are always fun because you always got that pigment in there, and especially if you got a good one like the lead belcher. This gunmetal looks pretty good too. That can create some depth in this. So let's just do a little bit here. And that brush is going to be a little bit thick. Not as pointy as what I thought. Oh yeah, that's going to work out good. Nice. So we're just going to draw a nice line on this. To create our own line. And we'll end up doing in there too. So that'll come out pretty good. So that works out. And with the metallic, that creates depth in there as well. And the other thing we could end up doing, like where we've got those little recesses and lines, we can either do a wash to create like a shadow effect on there. That could work as well. Now we've got this weird shape here that kind of goes here. And it's kind of outlined on here, but it's not real distinct, which makes this really odd. George is back. Yeah, we're doing a little helmet action here. Doing the Doomslayer helmet miniature style. And we're just kind of freehand this a little bit. We'll see how this goes. I decided I want to do something. And how's it going? Oh, it's going pretty good. We got a lot of rain here in Korea, so it's a good day to stay inside and paint. But with this model, we've got a lack of lines, so I think we got to create our own lines here. And we'll see how that goes. And again, I just so wish. There is more distinct lines on this. hopefully I can get the same look on the other side. So we'll see if we can do that. So you wish you could paint, but you just don't have steady enough hands. This thumb here like shakes a lot, and this one too. You'll see it from time to time. So I got to keep pressure on it, but it's like just trying to find a good brace in the position so that my hand doesn't shake, and then just kind of getting to draw lines. Work with the shakes. Is what it comes down to. And again, there's just this lack of clear defined lines on this. So we're just kind of winging this, and we'll see how this turns out. And I just got to remember I got to do the same on the other side as well. Neuropathy killed my hands. Ooh, I got nerve damage, radiculopathy, and neuropathy in my lower legs and stuff. So I feel for you. I know. My feet are like in constant pain, which isn't fun. So I know what you're going through. It sucks. And again, we're just going to try to mimic what we did on that other side. And hopefully that'll work. Again, it's just kind of an odd little thing, because you can see a very faint outline, but it's not like enough to so we'll see. Maybe we can get this to where it'll look close enough. You know what I mean? Could always be worse. At least I'm still here. Yeah, that's true. That is true. That is true. Could always be worse. Thankful for what I have. That's for sure. Remember to breathe. Breathe. And again, this just, I don't know. It's just so slight. As far as like where the line is or should be, because it's pretty much just a raised area. So it makes it interesting. See if I can get it the way I want it. That's gonna have to be good enough for government work there. So now, again, it's just kind of it's an odd, this is an odd helmet. Of course, bigger, it's going to be easier, but let's see how this goes. This will be a kind of a little practice job for the big helmet. But the big helmet, a lot of that is going to be spray painted. So that'll be a lot. I think it'll be easier. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then the question is, where am I going to spray paint it at? That is the other question. Yeah, I wish this had like really clear lines, but it doesn't. George says, I think I may print a battle cat saddle for my mom's cat just because it's funny. Go for it. Go for it. So that turns out good. With the lack of lines on there, but we're kind of making our own lines. So let's do the back here, because that's like big and easy. Seen the prints with the cats, and they have like a Batman helmet on, or Spartan helmet or whatever. That's kind of cool. See if I can get a little bit more of this mileage out of this. What we got left here? I mean, I'm a dog person. Had a few dogs over the years, but haven't had one in a long time. But if the cat is cool, then that's cool. see, what else can we do? I guess we do these little spots here. Clean that brush up a little bit. Yeah, just kind of an odd little indentation there. George says, just finished painting a xenomorph, dude. Cool. I've got one or two of those. I got one that's painted, the other one isn't. But the alien dudes are pretty good. Can't go wrong with aliens. The xenomorph. And the Alien Earth series is actually surprisingly not bad. I'm kind of enjoying that. And this little thing that we got going here, these little indentations, we put this paint on here, but then it also has kind of like a recessed line, so we can add some shade in there, and that will give some depth as well. And let's do this thing here. Matter of fact, the Xenomorph was like one of the first few models that I ended up printing. So those are pretty cool. I was worried when they first announced it. I've been pleasantly surprised. Talk about that Alien Earth. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was like, and then, yeah, it turned out good. That's not bad. So that breaks up some of the massive green that we got. Little things there, we'll probably do that. Those little vents there and down there, we'll do those. See, it's got vents on this side, but not on this side. It's got a little bit there. But I think what we'll end up doing is we'll do like red and maybe a yellow, and we'll see how that goes. I think we're going to need some more paint though. Definitely going to need some more paint. And what were we using? We were using gunmetal. Talking about movies, we were just watching Superman and then Justice League and stuff like that, and those are really good. And Zack Snyder's, he did a real good job on that stuff. And the fact that they didn't finish out that with Darkseid and all that, that really kind of pissed me off. But what do you do? I was just waiting for that. And it never came. the ferrule, didn't I? Yep, I sure did. A little bit too close. Alrighty, let's get back to let's do. I think I can hold this like this. And again, the lack of distinct lines on this model we have to just create our own. This gunmetal looks pretty good. I'm liking it. I've been a Citadel Leadbelcher color fan for quite a while, but this Army Painter gunmetal looks pretty good too. Anybody else watch any good Alien series, sci-fi alien stuff that you could recommend? I kind of end up re-watching stuff from time to time. I said we're just watching. We watched Superman with Henry Cavill, and then Justice League. We finished that up, and now we're watching The Flash with Ezra Miller, which I actually kind of liked that. It turned out it was I like his character. But the Superman, Henry Cavill's Superman, is the Superman. That's all there is to it. And why they didn't make more Superman movies, I don't know. I watch more older stuff than new. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So. But yeah, we were watching the Superman, and Superman dies, and it was like, oh no. And why they didn't keep using him as Superman, I just won't understand why. I needed more green on there. Missed a whole bunch on there. Dang it. That's okay, we'll just have to go back and hit that up. Again, a lack of clear lines on this model is not filling me with joy. think I'm just gonna go over that and just do the whole thing as silver. We'll just make our own lines. Gun was on a power trip and DC will pay for it. Yeah. But imagine if they brought Henry Cavill back. That would, and if it was a good story, they would make a ton of money. It would be insane how much money they would make off of that. But I'm having hope though, because he's doing the Warhammer series. So that will be an interesting thing to see how that pans out. So the Warhammer, that, and he's a big Warhammer geek, so that could be really good. So again, I'm hoping that really just, I hope he nails that out of the park. Just so odd, the lack of lines on this thing. So now this has really got me wondering about the big helmet. That's going to look. And I have to come back with some green. And of course that one's a little bit more than the other one. So do a little bit more. Is it? I don't know, that's pretty darn close. It looks like I could bring it down here. But it's not the same on the other side either. Dang it, whoever modeled this. Because it's just not really clear. So we'll just have to wing it. Wing it. clean that up a little bit. I met Reeve as a kid at a Superman celebration in Metropolis, Illinois when I lived there. He made a big impression. Yeah, he was pretty good as well. But there was always something about Reeve. He was like, yeah, but I don't know what it was about him. I mean, he was a good Superman. And back in the day, I mean, he was the Superman. But I think it really, for me, it just really hit home when Henry Cavill got it. And that was when it was like, okay, yeah. But Reeve was good too back in the day. But then you look at some of the stuff that you watch back in the day, like the Incredible Hulk and some of those other ones, and you're like, holy crow, why did I even think this was good? But Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. But yeah, those were the. But back then, that was the bomb. It was like, holy crow, he's turning into the Hulk. That little dude. And now you look at it and it's like, man, that was cheesy. But then you also had, what was it, $6 Million Man. That was a big one. $6 million. As if that was a lot of money back then. It was like, holy crow, who in the world has $6 million for a robot? So Reeve was able to play Clark and Superman. Henry, great Superman, not so good Clark. You know what? I think I'd have to agree with you on that. I think you're right. Reeve did do a good Clark Kent. Henry Cavill didn't. We didn't get a lot of him being Clark. But I would say Reeve did a better job at that. So, yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah. That is true. Getting a little sloppy. Where's some of the other cool stuff we used to watch? Just gonna do gray on this. Kung Fu series. Used to watch that a lot. That was pretty cool. Incredible Hulk was the best. Best end theme. Gotta go? You gotta cook supper, George? Hey, nothing wrong with that. I think I'm gonna be ending this out here pretty soon anyway. So, good timing, good timing. So we ended up with our helmet here. And with the lack of distinct lines, we were able to do pretty decent, I guess. So let's come back with some green. We'll fill in the places that I missed. Do a little bit of touch up. So we got the green we need to go there and there. So, but other than that, I think we turned out pretty good. And I got some little touch ups I got to do on the bottom. So that is what we have. That is the helmet that we have so far. So I think what we'll end up doing is we'll just leave that there. And again, that's the really good one. That one turned out really good. This is going to be a good helmet to make. So you can kind of get a preview of how the helmet's going to look by doing a miniature one. And yeah, this is going to rock if I make a full-size helmet. This is going to be good because, yeah, I'm building that armor. So that'll be good as well. But with that, and like George said, hope he has a good one. He's got to cook because it's probably like dinner time in the United States. And here in Korea it is morning and I haven't had breakfast yet. So I think now is a good time to stop and we shall go for a food break because this ain't cutting it. It's not enough. Okay, that's it. Got metal worked out pretty good. The two types of green that we had worked well. After bringing some yellow and some highlights on here, we'll see how we can make this better. So yeah, might even get a eye shield on here, face shield on here of some sorts. But we still got some other stuff to do. I think what we'll end up doing after we do the little touch-ups and stuff, next one we'll do like an airbrush with some lighter color greens, maybe some yellow to try to see if we can get some highlights on there without screwing it up too much. Anyway, yeah, what do we got? Emergency. Water levels in Osan Stream, traffic restriction on Osan Railway Bridge, Tapdong Bridge, Dugok Bridge, Chamshul Bridge. Yeah, we got a lot of rain here in Korea, so yeah. So with that, we'll go ahead and let y'all go. Have a good one. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That is always welcome. Oh yeah, there I am. So yeah, like and subscribe to the channel. That would work out. I would really appreciate that. And buy me coffee if you want. Send me an email, say hi, whatever it is. And yeah, that's what we got going on. Okay. But yeah, the best thing that you could do, don't buy me coffee, just like and subscribe to the channel. That would be the best thing, and I would really, really appreciate that. So anyway, yeah, it's never too late to learn how to paint, print, do whatever. Just jump in, start somewhere, anywhere, have fun and enjoy it, and we will see you all in the next video. Peace. Yeah, good stuff.